gonna do an after show in the dining room because that's where these guys are, and we just want to stare at them.
If I'm talking to you and all of a sudden I just start like looking off over here, you know why. It's so pretty.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
We put them up here just because we thought it'd be a fun, pretty place for them to be, but I think they might stay up there because they look really good.
Yeah, I think they might too. I mean, that's the problem. I think we might have mentioned this in a video or in an after show before, but we'll stage an area because
Wait, we need to do after show. After show. Okay, go for it.
Okay, we'll stage an area because it seems like the best place to shoot the thing in, and then we'll just leave it there, and the rest of the house is all disheveled because we moved, you know, there used to be other art there and we moved it. We have lights everywhere, but like this one pocket looks amazing.
Yeah, I think my favorite changes so frequently depending on like the lighting and the angle, but right now it's the little one with that big burst of gold. I know that the crystals on the biggest one are really cool.
Wait, the little one with the burst of, because the
medium with the explosion of gold.
It does look really good vertical.
I really like it like that.
Me too.
It sometimes was my least favorite, honestly. When we first made it, I was like, did we blow it with that big burst of gold and everything?
I know. I was kind of worried about that for a long time. I didn't want to say anything, especially because you're the one that put the gold. I didn't want to be like...
so much gold. At one point, it was just covering the entire thing. It looked bad.
Yeah, and we tried to pour other resin, but like the gold just kept going to the top, and we were like,
But oh my gosh, dropping the rocks in there absolutely saved it. It saved it so much, and it made it so much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what we would have done without dropping those in.
I mean, it just would have been like a gold slab. Oh, we also made a secret bonus one.
Oh yeah, a little turn. This is like a little. So that was the inside cut from the biggest one.
I'll grab it.
And it was our test piece for everything that we tried. So that was the first one we did the pour on, and that was the first one that we sanded, and all these other things. And it has often been very ugly, but it gets better. Like it got a lot better when we did the final resin pour over it.
Yeah.
It got a lot better.
Here's a little guy.
Little guy. We'll do like an overlay a little bit later, but he's the ugliest.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, I think you already said it, it was the hole from the big one. And we were like, well, we have a little bit extra, let's just throw it on there. But we learned a lot of things. We learned, so when we do the final resin pour, being level is super important in all of it. And then the final one, it wasn't quite level. And when it had started to set,
yeah, so it had started to set, and then we tilted it to try to fix it.
Because it wasn't quite perfectly level.
But it was partially dry, so it just like bulged, and it got really ugly, and it just...
Yeah. Well, and you were the one that found that out.
Yeah.
I was like in the other room when you were doing the final pour test on this one. And then with the big ones, they were slightly not level also.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we can just... I was like reaching to level it, like, oh, we can just re-level it. And everyone was like, no.
Also, we tested, so we have MDF backing, and MDF is visible on half of the side. And we tested how high we wanted to paint it. Did we want to go all the way over? Did we want to just go part way up?
The gold.
The gold, yeah. And we figured that out on this. We did a few different levels of paint, and we determined not gold all the way up. We love the edges that are left by the resin, and we wanted to leave those untouched because those are the most natural, flowing things that we can get anyways.
Yeah, in terms of like an edge.
In terms of an edge, most natural looking edge.
Yeah, I think painting the edge black would look good too because on the outside of each of these we had black resin. So like continuing whatever color you have over the edge, I think is also a good look. I think the gold works because we had gold in each too. But.
I think that one thing we might do in the future is try getting some black MDF or some black plastic or some black something.
Oh yeah, we decided.
So then it doesn't need to be touched too much.
Yeah. Oh man, I was about to say what we decided, the one thing we decided to do that is related to geodes, but then I realized I can't because some people watching
it's a Christmas gift.
Yeah, but it's a Christmas gift.
And some of our family watched this, so you don't get to know family that are trying to be sneaky.
Yeah. So just pretend like we didn't say anything.
Good story, good story.
But we do want to do a lot more resin stuff. Like,
it was so fun But we have to admit, during the process, during every single one, there's a moment where I'm like, this sucks.
Oh,
this is ugly. This is so ugly. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And it just like turned out so well every time.
For the little one, my worry point is we tried white alcohol ink and it just kind of sat on top as an opaque white, and we were like, oh man, that doesn't look good. And that was the worry point in that one.
But then we put alcohol drops around it, and then the interaction between them
pushed the white
into like a little vein, and that's now my favorite part.
Me too. Me too. And then with the
we should change the.
Our mic's about to die. Okay, we'll be right back.
Yeah. We'll be right back.
Yeah,
so for the little one, the little vein was that moment of panic, or the white alcohol drops was the moment of panic, and now our favorite feature.
For the middle one, the gold, which we already talked about, was like the moment of panic when it just took over.
For the big one, we were doing such wide, big pours. It looked like children's art at the very beginning.
Because it was just solid, unblended colors and like such big stripes of it.
And it looked really bad.
It looked really bad.
The things that really helped were the hot air gun.
Yes.
Selective alcohol ink drops.
Yes. For the middle one, adding the rocks.
Oh yeah. Adding the rocks.
Yeah, because we didn't know this, we didn't expect this to happen, but when we dropped them in, it pulled the color from underneath.
Yeah, I think it also, the surface tension of
the alcohol ink.
Well, so the alcohol ink had a film across the whole thing, and dropping the beads in there broke the adhesion between the alcohol inks, and it kind of separated the alcohol into two different zones. And at the point we dropped the rocks in, it tried to run away from that point. So by adding all of those rocks all the way around, all of the alcohol ink that was sitting right there, all of a sudden started being repulsed by that area and running away. It seriously was.
Yeah.
We dropped it in, and the alcohol inks went, whoa!
Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh, it was so crazy.
One of my favorite parts was adding the crystals in the middle of the big one.
And Caitlin was freaking out internally the whole time.
And
in
externally.
Joy and worry.
Yeah, no, that's like one of my favorite parts. I wish, so we considered hanging these in our laundry room because it's the only room in our house that the walls are painted. Because you can't really see them super well against the white wall, but then, we're in the laundry room, I feel like we wouldn't see it as much.
No.
There's not as much, and it's harder to video in there.
I really wanted them to be in our main room or in our office where we spend the most time so we can see these more, because they are one of my now favorite things we've done, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're one of my favorite things.
I think another thing that's really exciting about this style of making is you can add it to a whole bunch of different projects, and it's a way to add some artistic flair to something in a non-intimidating way.
Yeah,
such
because
as,
it's gonna look
abstract.
Abstract, yeah. It's gonna be abstract art just by the nature of the material, and you just learn a few kind of concrete tips like, oh, I use a heat gun to blend it all together. That's gonna look
rings.
cool.
Yeah, do it in rings, use a heat gun, do some drops of alcohol here and there. But it's not like you're painting something recognizable, like a face or a mountain or a tree.
Yeah, where there's a lot to mess up.
There's a lot to mess up there.
Even if you weren't going for the geode thing, like this one wasn't necessarily a geode, it was just putting colors in, and it still, you could use a similar technique where you're just kind of dropping stuff in. And
I'd say start out with a limited number of colors.
Yeah, we did. I think we included that in the video.
Yeah.
We included some basic tips.
Yeah.
I do think, so we keep using the word resin. This is actually epoxy. And
it is.
I think
words are hard.
Words are hard. So the epoxy actually had a shorter working time.
Yes. Than resin does.
But aren't there other complications with resin that the epoxy is simpler, or am I wrong?
This epoxy is a little bit more forgiving in the ratios, and it does dry a lot faster and a lot harder. So with resin, you have to be very careful about how to handle it when you take it out and all these other things. But it would make it less stressful.
I think especially if we were doing anything bigger than the big geode.
We would need resin.
Yeah, like if we poured it over a huge canvas or something like that.
But one thing that's great about epoxy is that it's really strong. It has a very high bond strength. And those are the main things. Oh, it's more heat resistant. So if the sun shines on it, you don't, it's non-yellowing. It does have a lot of good things. This is technically the superior product. It's more expensive generally. It's higher bond, it's higher strength, it's it's more resistant to UV and all of that. But
you gotta work faster.
Gotta work fast, which is stressful.
It was a little stressful. Some moments were more stressful than others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do want to try resin eventually.
Yeah.
So we'll try that too. But everything that we did in this works equally between the two. I mean, resin and epoxy are very similar products, very similar chemicals
like they would
involved.
work the same with the dyes.
They would work the same with the
stuff.
dyes and inks and pigments and everything. Yeah. They're very similar materials. It's just, it's kind of complicated, the differences. But
which is why we didn't get into them.
Which is why we didn't get into it. We are planning to do a third part in this series that I'm really excited about. We can just probably tell you guys.
Yeah.
We're going to mix wood, real wood, and the resin in a more organic way. Instead of just pouring it over and just overlaying it, we're gonna have the wood showing in between. So we'll take wood, we'll do some power carving, we'll do a resin pour, and then we'll sand and plane it all flat, and then we'll do a final resin pour over the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that'll make everything glossy and perfect and wonderful and bring out all of the shininess and colors again.
It's gonna be a table too. It's
Yeah.
not just like wall art.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna be like functional woodworking mixed with resin and art and.
But it won't be a river table.
But it won't be a river table because that would be controversial now. I just don't even want to get into that.
Yeah, I mean, we had come up with this idea a long time ago and knew we didn't want to do a river table.
You know what we should do? We should come up with a clever name and trademark it.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, someone copyrighted the word river as it applies to table or something like that. We don't know all the details, but we thought that was kind of
Yeah, we've been hearing lots of
interesting
stuff about it.
There's some podcasts that talk about it and everything. Hey, let us know in the comments, either on YouTube or on Patreon.
On Patreon. We don't see them on Second Channel.
Yeah, you're right. Leave them in the comments on Patreon. What interesting ideas you have for this type of art. I think that it's a new thing to this community. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, we've
much?
seen, like I mentioned, Laura made it in the video.
Yeah.
She was the first one we saw do geode art. And we started digging and saw a few more, but nobody had like tutorial videos. It was just kind of glossed over.
Yeah, yeah. But like one thing that we might want to do is like do something like this on top of a cutting board as a decorative side thing, or at the bottom of, we could make a breakfast tray, and on the bottom of the breakfast tray, we could do some crazy colors, or we could do some crazy pattern. We could do some space stuff or galaxies, or
galaxies, that'd be cool.
yeah, like mostly black, but with
Planets.
planets or supernovas, or we could do all sorts of crazy stuff. We could even like put a bowl down, do a pour around the whole thing, take the bowl out like a plastic bowl, and then there's a little pocket, and then we do a second pour of a planet.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
So lots of fun things, but we want to know what you guys think. Any crazy ideas that you might want us to try, because we want to do more of this.
Yeah, resin/epoxy is super fun. It's like, I see why people get addicted to it. It's really, 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 really fun.
You get a lot of bang for the time you put into it.
Yeah, it's so fast.
It's so fast, it's so exciting, and you end up with something that you can't even imagine because it's hard to control.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways, well, I think that might be a good place to end it.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys so much for the support, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.